Hello, 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 everybody. I can't see anybody. I'm waiting for everybody to come on. Um, Whoa. Good evening, everybody. Hey, there's Jacques and there's Vash. Okay, there they are. I got my crew on here right now. We're waiting for some folks to come on. How you guys doing?
Doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing well, but I actually have to tell you all something. I want to send out a special prayer and to the family of Billy Evans, the U.S. Capitol Police officer who was killed today. I work in the area, and I just want to make sure that I send a special prayer out to his family and his friends after 18 years of service with the U.S. Capitol Police. And also, I want to give a shout out to the Major League Baseball team for pulling their games, their World Series out of Atlanta because of the new voter suppression law that has been put into place. And so,
yes,
hurt them with the money, baby. That's right. Get them with the money. That's how we're going to make a difference. But
yes.
What's going on in you all's world?
Oh my God, for me, a lot going on. Like you, Alvin, this seems like surreal. You've got so much going on in this compacted period of time. I'm happy that the holiday season is here. Happy Easter to all of you and to all of our audience who observed Easter. I'm really happy because my sister came down from DC and she brought her family, my brother-in-law, and my nieces, and we're all here in North Carolina. And so we'll be here for the holiday. And so this is quite nice. But yeah, I'm trying not to, as much as I really had to compartmentalize and not deal with what's going on, even though I acknowledge what's going on. And it's pretty jarring for me. So I'm still managing that whole energy and flow.
Well, we talked about the Derrick Chauvin murder trial that's taking place. We talked about that, and we agreed that we're not gonna watch it. Hey, Derwin, thanks for joining us tonight. Thank you. We said that we're not going to watch that, but no matter what you do, it seems to sneak up and creep up underneath your being. And I'm sorry, y'all looking at me like, well, turn your TV off. But it's kind of hard. Everybody's talking about it. My family's talking about it. Everybody's talking about, this Derrick Chauvin murder trial, which rightfully so. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. It's a lot.
Don't you guys think that it's being a brown person in America? And after a half century of us living on this continent and in this space, there are certain things we just can't ignore anymore. We can't pretend they're not there. I don't have the ability to compartmentalize or to pretend it's not there. And it's my lived experience every single day. And so, yeah.
Well, I know we just mentioned the Derrick Chauvin murder trial, but in our chat tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we wanted to share with you something that we need you to know. There's another trial going on, you guys, that we want you to know about, that we've done our research on. So, we've been talking about it. So, Vash, if you can take us there and tell us what this trial that's going on is all about, please.
Yeah. So while everyone was focused on, George Floyd and what was going on there was another trial. Well, actually, another situation that happened. So back in 2017, there was a protest that happened in Missouri, I believe it was.
Yeah, it was in St. Louis, yes.
St. Louis, right? Mm-hmm. Where the St. Louis Police Department sent in 2 undercover police officers, one black and one white, and they were sent in to, mingle in with the protesters so they could uncover illegal and criminal activity. It's important that we remember that they were looking for those 2 specific things. Well, during the protest, one of the officers, Luther Hall, was actually arrested by 5 white cops. During that time, he was handcuffed and then he was brutally beaten. I mean, brutally beaten by these cops and arrested. Well, clearly, being someone who was sent in to uncover illegal and criminal activity, this came to a head because, he was beaten while he was on duty. And that trial just finished. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
As you can probably imagine, none of the 5 officers were actually found guilty,
Right.
even though they beat one of their own who was on duty,
Right.
trying to uncover illegal and criminal activity.
Right.
One would think that that have been it. Go ahead, Alvin, what were you going to say?
Well, because there's so many twists and turns with this case or what's going on. First of all, Luther Hall has taken out a civil suit against the at least 3 of the 5 officers, because one of the officers, after they beat him, and when they beat Luther, they actually damaged his kidneys, damaged his neck, and the other white officer who was also undercover at this protest, which resulted from a police officer being acquitted after killing a black person by the name of Anthony Lamar Smith in 2011. That's what caused the riot.
Right.
So, yeah. And so the white officer, though, that was also undercover, he was charged with like a textbook charge. He was arrested, but they didn't treat him like they treated Luther Hall. But here's the other thing. One of the officers who was on trial, one of the 5 officers, he lied about the report and then retracted it while he was on trial and said that Luther Hall was not resisting arrest. And he also said that they sent each other emails and text messages to say that they were going to beat up the protesters.
Yes.
So all of this is happening. And ladies and gentlemen, we're sharing this with you because we know that the Derrick Chauvin trial, thank you for just coming on, Rose and Bob, Alma, Kay, Brandy, Keith. Thank you guys for coming on. But we're sharing this with you because this is another trial that's going on where, a black person, a police officer,
yes,
was treated unfairly in his own house.
While on duty, undercover. Yes.
Okay. So,
and officers.
and Luther was paid. I did some more research. In the end of February, Luther was paid $5 million. He got a $5 million settlement, but it is still in court because he's filing a civil suit against the officer that got off because they promoted him after beating up one of his own.
Wow.
So go ahead.
This is what we're up against when we go into this Derrick Chauvin trial. We see constantly that the criminal justice system clearly does not want to prosecute white police officers for beating up black people, regardless of who we are, right. Whether we're the police chief, the deputy, whatever, fair game.
It doesn't matter. And I said that. Go ahead, Jacques.
No, I'm speechless. I'm silent. I'm sad. I'm numb. I mean, this is how many more of these stories, how many instances of these actual lived experiences of men and women who look like us. How long does this have to go on? And it just defies logic, especially when for the people that talk about Blue Lives Matter, for the people that talk about all lives matter. First of all, there's no such thing as a blue life, because if there were blue lives, and clearly that black officer who was in that blue uniform, even though it was undercover, he would have been safeguarded, he would have been protected, or his life would have been valued. And the mere fact that yet again we can go through a criminal justice system who is supposed to be blind, and no conviction, no accountability. It's just it's deeply saddening.
Yeah. And as I said earlier, for those of you who follow my post, hey George, for those of you who follow my post, I said that it doesn't matter what you look like, how many degrees you have on your wall, what your economic status is. If you are black, you can be and will be subjected to police brutality some way just because of the color of your skin. Mm-hmm. And it just doesn't matter. So for those of you who are just tuning in, please, if you get an opportunity, please Google the name Luther Hall, We talked about some injustice inside of a St. Louis police department from about a gentleman who went undercover. He was a cop and he got beat up by cops at a protest. Now, another flip side to this, I want to ask Jacques and Vash about this also. Okay, the people in St. Louis are saying, well, why was Mr. Hall even there?
He was.
Why did you need to send someone in undercover? So they have like a little issue with that.
Exactly. And understandably so. It's like, why are you sending the police in to a protest, assuming that there is going to be criminal activity? And This is the thing that got me. What they uncovered was illegal criminal activity of their own police force, and they ignored it.
Hence, that's why they beat him up and they're getting off. Right. Exactly.
So
Hold on. Keith has said something right here. Jacques, I'm sorry. Keith said that's one reason why I refuse to watch the trial. They hate us, and it's very clear that our lives, regardless of who we are, doesn't matter.
And Brandy said it's numbing, and I agree. It's absolutely numbing. It's numbing.
I agree with both of them. It is very numbing, and it's very disheartening. You know, I'm curious, Alvin. Do you know is this officer still working with the police department after he got the settlement?
I'm glad you asked me that. He is working. He is not doing what he was doing, but he is still working with the police department of St. Louis. He is still employed. And after what I've read about his injuries, I don't know what he could do because they damaged his liver, his kidneys, and his shoulder blades or something to his upper body. But he is still working with the police officers, with the St. Louis police. So I want everybody, please follow that story because it's just as big. It didn't get the national attention, and it did not.
Which is another thing. It only got local attention. Right. Why was this not across the globe as a discussion point? It's even more informing of what's going on than what the Derrick Chauvin trial is showing.
It is definitely, this story has tentacles, even though all the 5 officers have been acquitted, but the case still goes on. So please, guys, Google Luther Hall and follow this story because there's something that you guys need to know. But now we need to get ready for our topic of the night. we have to go there, ladies and gentlemen.
Let me take a drink on this one.
Take a drink on this one. Our topic tonight is the N-word. Okay. Let me say, first of all, let me give a disclaimer to everybody right now before we even begin. We are not here to be insensitive to anyone or disrespectful about talking about this word. We are not going to say the actual word tonight. We're going to say the N word throughout because we understand, even though we're talking about it, this word is offensive to a lot of people, even me. But we have some points and some discussions that we want to have about it. So we've chosen this platform to do it. And we're grateful that you all are here to do it with us. So just wanted to make sure that we got that disclaimer out. How about that? The N word is a divisive word in our society. It derived from the pre-Jim Crow period. White people branded Africans with the term and used it to abuse and belittle them for decades. I'm going to say us, for decades. The word represents generations of mistreatments and disrespect towards African Americans. So we have 3 questions for y'all tonight. And we want y'all to join in that we're going to talk about. Our first question is, do Black people own the N-word? And that's G-E-R or G-A or G-G-A. Okay.
I'm gonna say no, we do not.
I'm gonna say go ahead, Jacques. Go ahead.
We don't. No. We think we do, we don't.
I'm gonna say that Black people think they own it. Okay? Mm-hmm. And here's why. For me, I think Black people think they own it because unlike non-Black people, Black people can make millions of dollars from using the word.
Ooh.
They can make billions of dollars in their music and what they write and what they, whether it be a play. Black people can use it, comedy, Black people can use it. So yes, in my opinion, Black people think that they own the N-word.
Well, so Alvin, I have a question. So I don't think that Black people own GGER. I think that what we have done in response, because that is the ultimate symbol of anti-Blackness. That is the ultimate symbol of dehumanizing us as a human species. That is the ultimate symbol of white supremacy. However, I do believe that we as a community, or certain aspects of our community, has co-opted and rebranded or rephrased certain aspects of the word to own it. And to your point about the music, I have 4 millennial children, and it's constant. It is ubiquitous in their music, and I still don't know. Honestly, at 57 years old, I still don't know. It is conflicting, and I like some of those artists, and I'm conflicted. It is. I'm glad we're talking about this, and I appreciate that we talk about it as transparently as we do, to reflect just how controversial and how conflicting this is. Even I've gone lots of different places, and emotional spaces, and even now sitting here today, and even in preparation for this discussion, I am still conflicted.
Well, I'm sorry. Kay just said we mistakenly think that we own it, but the word owns us. Now that's a point.
Yeah, but you guys just split that point. You split it in a way that's very, very interesting. I understand, Jacques, what you were saying about how sometimes we are trying to take it back. Like, I know the fraternity Omega, they brand each other because they're taking that back from what was done to us when we were enslaved. So I understand taking a word back and then using it because it gives you power. But Alvin, when you said that we take it and we use it to make money, that blew me away, because that does happen. Yeah. There are comedians who just throw it out as sort of like the little sugar and spice to like a joke, because it's automatically going to make it funny because it's that sort of taboo word that tickles you. And that's a really interesting thing that makes us want to keep that word to ourselves, because then it's inflammatory. If anyone outside says it, we get to go after them, whether it be Sharpton going out and protesting until they're, things happen to get him to go away, or anything. We get to use it. And I have to really contemplate that, because that's a really interesting way of thinking about ownership of that word.
Yeah. And if you're with some of your, or I have been around or in situations where a person who's not Black will say, will use the word, will use the N-word, and depending upon depending on whether or not you're with me and I understand or I trust you, then it's okay. But if I don't know you, then that means that, oh, wait a minute, you have crossed the line and you shouldn't be using that word, which to me is also, it's perplexing to me that you feel like this word that is so degrading to you, you have so much power that you want to protect it.
Yes,
I wonder, and to your point, Vash and Alvin, is life imitating art, or is art imitating life in that space? And the fact that you do have people who use it for commercial value. You're right. There are millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars generated in that space. It's interesting that it's in the entertainment space for something that was originally very, very degrading. But are they saying it because it's a reflection of what's going on? Or on the other hand, are they in fact continuing to perpetuate that and thereby creating a situation, creating a culture that ordinarily would not exist or wouldn't exist to that level.
I think that they're actually perpetuating, and it gets into sort of like this whole need to create this badassery through the use of language. And the use of the N-word is usually always done in a way to sort of add a vibrato to someone's personality. And I think that it's used, it's perpetuated. I think if we stopped using it, well, no, that's not true, because there's a bunch of folks who use it in the derogatory way, and their livelihood depends on that. So shifting them off of it is going to be way more difficult than shifting us off of it. So,
right, it is one of this question. As we thought about the questions that we were going to pose to you all tonight, ladies and gentlemen, this question was really. We spent the most time trying to figure out how are we going to respond to this when this comes up, because so many things go into this question. And I'm going to give you another disclaimer, because sometimes in talking about the N-word, you have to talk about it in ways that people use it in an intimate way, and it's used affectionately. And sometimes when that's done, people forget that the word is derogatory when it's being used affectionately. And so that was also a way of saying, for me, when the question came up, do we own the word? That word cannot be said to some people during an intimate, I'm talking intimate, like I'm on a date. And I'm trying to be nice, ladies and gentlemen. I think you know where I'm going.
And you're doing a great job.
You're going very Regina Bell. This will be the night for intimate relations. You're going to Regina Bell. Let's bring her up. I haven't
Jack Daniels, come in here now. Okay, right. Okay, so I'm trying to say that what I was saying is that's another part of ownership that Black people will give somebody else, especially in an interracial setting. It's okay if you say it in an intimate way to me, but you can't say it any other kind of way. Again, that power, I'm going to give you that now in this moment, but don't you say it at any other time.
So you've had someone use that word with you?
I've had someone use that word with me, not knowing that I was about to turn their neck into that I was going to become the exorcist.
Was it an interracial experience?
It was an interracial experience.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So interracial experience,
full disclosure, and I think and again, being completely transparent, and I'm going to be nice, but I think
it's a kid show.
No, here's my challenge. My challenge is that I'm one of those people who, is situational, and that I haven't had a solid compass. That I've been all across the board all my life, sitting here today. And Vash, I had an a friendly, intimate situation. I'm talking with a close friend who happened to be not a person of color. And she and I are talking, and the word freely flowed from both of us. And I only thought about it like after the conversation. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm one of the people we're going to be talking about on the show, because and again, we bring it real, right? And so I'm one of those people that still has all these compartmental spaces, because it was interesting. I remember a couple years ago when my son was a senior in high school, he threw a big party at my house. He went to a predominantly affluent white school. I had all of these white kids over, a Jay-Z song or a 2 Chainz song plays, and they're screaming at the top of their lungs the N-word, and it was jarring to me. But at the same time, I know I have been in relation situations when, it goes to the next emotional level, and you're having somebody scream the N-word, and it's affirming. So I'm like, okay, well, what does that say about me and where I am and my comfortability with the word, and is that reflective of where we are as a and I'm a DEI specialist, right? So I should be, but I'm just clear disclosure. It is a horrible word, GGER. I think the story that I've told myself is that in certain instances, the GGA or GGAH is a reflection of certain cultural aspects where we have attempted to co-opt the word. And again, like right now, I'm in North Carolina, and I could go to the South Side, and everybody who is a person of color is just rolling off their tongue. And it's like, okay, so what is that? Is that art imitating life? Is that life imitating art? Where are we? And I'm really in this. I'm one of the people that you're talking about, and I'm just being candid and being very transparent about it. And I'm still conflicted even in the space.
Okay, well, here's the deal.
Right.
Words are words. The context is what's really important, because I've had someone say "bless your heart" in a way that has made me feel like I had just been pimp slapped. So it all depends on how the word is used, because if someone says "my N-word" versus "that N-word" or "you N-word," that already has a different context. And when you are someone's N-word, you don't mind them calling you that, but when you ain't, you got a problem with it. I remember Lisa Lampanelli used the N-word in reference to, what's the redheaded comedian?
Something.
You know what I'm talking about. Right. It's amazing.
Carrot Top.
No. The woman. What's her name? Anyway.
Kathy Griffin.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry, Kathy. Yes. I actually really am a big fan. But Lisa Lampanelli used it referencing her. And she says, my N-word. And the internet exploded. But the thing is, she used the word correctly when you were addressing someone in that context as someone being your dog, your best friend, so
your homie.
So words are words, which gets back to, do we own them? Right. And it has so many different meanings. So how do you deprive someone of using a word that can actually mean something so great and so connecting?
Well, hold on, because I tell you what, that's going to lead into the next question, so we can move on. The next question is there a difference in the meaning behind the N-word when it's used, aka GGR or GGA? And in my opinion, first of all, again, let me just go on. Another, for the people who are just signing on, we have a disclaimer. We're not here to be insensitive. We're just having a conversation about the N-word that we just think needs to be had because the word is still being used. We're not here to offend anybody. So thank you for joining us tonight. Darren, Kay, Sean, Alma, Bobby. Thank you, Brandy. Derwin, thank you all for joining us. But I don't like the word, period. But I have been in situations that now people are sending. You can get a meme where you do something and somebody sends you a meme, and the meme goes N-word, please. Okay,
that's my favorite way to use it. Actually,
N-word, please. Okay, and so hold on. Bobby says I agree. The context is important, but we cannot deny that words have and carry power. Rarely have I seen a culture try to co-opt such a word rooted in hate and humanity. True that. Okay, true that, Bobby. True that. But yeah, and we're gonna talk about that in what y'all are talking about, Bobby. So we're coming back. But the GGR and GGA have two different meanings, in my opinion. The way I've seen people use them, and yeah, it really does. It does.
Well, absolutely. Can you really tell the spelling when you're speaking it?
You sure can.
Yes, sure. You absolutely can. Absolutely. And growing up in the South, you knew when somebody was referring to you as GGER because that had that
drawl.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. As opposed to a term of endearment, or as you were referring to Vash earlier when you were saying, hey, if it's a term of collegiality, you're my dog, you're my homie, we're compadres. That has a different energy and connotation, and so I agree with what one of our audience members says. It is about meaning, and words do have meaning, and the context of words do have meaning. And so again, but I'm wondering honestly, is that the story I tell myself to make me feel better, or if it's in fact something else? Because what I have exactly, Alvin, told myself that there's
Ooh, okay. Jacques is having some technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. Let me see. You back? You back, Jacques? He's having some technical
I'm back. Sorry
difficulties.
about that.
Okay, he's back. Okay, go ahead.
So I said the story I tell myself is that absolutely that there is a nuanced distinction, but even in the truth space when it's just me and me, that's a place I get to go. It's like, well, what is the real impact of this word? And if it's truly horrible, regardless of all the other, seemingly positive or connective connotations it can have, as a human being, as a highly educated human being, can't I choose a better word choice? So,
well. First of all, I'm not analyzing you, my brother Jacques, my he said co-host. I'm not analyzing you, but it sounds like you got some work to do in that area, okay? Because you and I hear what you're saying, and I'm not saying that like, okay, I got some therapist number over here. Call me. I'm saying that you have just shared with us tonight, your heart, as you always do.
Yeah.
You have shared with us that word comes up for you now that we're talking about it, and it has brought up something in you that you need to explore, that you need to, talk to yourself about. And I hear you, brother. And we all go to those places. We all go to those places. Yeah. I'm sorry.
I'm going to say that even within the context of people using it to hurt other people, that it is still not necessarily a reflection of them applying it across the board. And I'm going to share a quick little story with you. I lived in downtown Los Angeles, and I was walking home, and these two people, there was a guy sitting at a cafe, outdoor cafe, and this other guy sort of walking. And I could tell that they had been arguing about something for a while. And as the white guy was walking past the black guy, he turned around and he used the N-word. Well, as he was turning back to see where he was walking, he just happened to be 3 feet away from me. And I could see the hate that he had for the guy turn to like concern that I might think that he felt that way about me as he saw me. So there's still this notion that words are words, and they can be used, especially that word. When that word comes up, it has a very specific meaning in the moment.
In the moment. In the moment, which again gets back to the GGR versus the GGA. Because in GGA, in the way I've experienced it is, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, that's when it's like a term of endearment, like ha ha ha, or GGA please, the N-word GGA please. But when someone like Jacques just said, put the on it, that to me says, you know what, those words are that way of saying the word to me is fire. That means that you have a problem with me, that there's a problem somewhere in the atmosphere that I need to be aware of, and I need to make sure that I'm on guard for how this is going to go. We have one more question. Go ahead.
I do, because Kay said, why does it seem black men use it more prolifically than black women? And based on what you just said, Alvin, I know that there have been arguments between black men and black women where a black woman has used that word against her man and has not meant it with love.
Yes, indeed. It may not be out in the street, Kay, but I can guarantee you.
I've seen it in the street.
Okay, a black woman has said it in the car. What?
Absolutely.
In word, what? Okay, so don't I hear what you're saying, Kay, and black men may use it more than white women. Than black women. I don't know that to be true. But I will say to Kay's comment, I'm sure black women sisters have used that word to get their point across more so than none. So we have one last question, but before we go, and we're going to go into what y'all talking about, and we go what y'all said, and we're going to get there. But the last question is, why is the N-word worse than any of the other derogatory words that have been associated with black people, aka coon, Tom, savage, mammy, pickaninny, buck, jigaboo, etc. I kind of like buck. that's another whole topic, okay?
And that's another show.
And that's another show. I kind of like being called Buck, but yeah. How come the N word is like the top of the line no in society compared to the other derogatory words? Is what I'm saying. And
I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier. I mean, it's the ultimate symbol of anti-Blackness. It's the ultimate dehumanizing term to refer to us as people of color. It is the ultimate tool of white supremacy. And you said decades. I'm going to say it's been centuries, generations, where we were intentionally dehumanized by people of European descent to be used as chattel labor. And that term is the capstone term that symbolizes all those hundreds of years in one two-syllable word. So I think it's fairly obvious from a historical perspective why it is so degrading and damaging and all of those things.
So all that.
I'm going to say it's because of the way, I'm going to say that the N-word is so damaging and derogatory and so biting because of the way that it sounds. And we've talked about it. We've got the different A, the AH would soften the word. But when that ER, that N-word, when you hear that thing is like, it's like a sickle. It just cuts you right to your core. So I think that it is the word itself in the sound of it that makes it so cutting and biting.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? First of all, thank you everybody for joining us tonight in our conversation about the N-word. Of course, we can go on and on and on and on and on. We could have added more questions, but we now want to hear what y'all said. You all have posted some comments, and we kind of want to address them. So if you guys keep on shooting in what y'all said, we're going to respond to them. So why don't we start with Brandy, who just sent in a comment, and he said it was the N-word was the last word a Black person heard as they were being killed, and that was passed down to us. And are you saying, Brandy, that's what makes us mad? Is that what creates the anger? Is that what creates the anger when people? Hey, Tammy, where's Tammy from? Is it Tammy Reyes?
Oh, hey, that's my friend Tammy, high school friend. Hey, Tammy, thanks for tuning in.
Hey, Tammy.
And happy birthday to Jub.
All right. Let me see.
Well, I mean, while we're waiting for some responses, what I'd like to do is spend a moment and talk about what y'all said, because this is a segment of our show where we definitely go out and we want to make sure that we hear what it is that you have to say. But we want to do that not just during the live show. We actually send out a question of the week every week, usually by Tuesday night. We send out what the question of the next show is going to be, and we do so using some of the latest technology. So when you see our question of the week pop up, there's going to be a link in that. If you click on that link, that will take you to a place where you can actually easily record a video. Do we have the graphic that'll show up when if you click on the link? What it'll do is it'll take you in, and it'll be a screen that has two buttons. One that says record a video or upload a video. If you just click on that, it'll allow you to record a video, and it'll come directly to us, and we'll be able to put it in and actually put you into the show. But there are also people that respond to our messages. And we love you. Keith Branch, you are here online right now watching, and I want to thank you for your response. What Keith said is that when it comes to the N-word, he goes, I don't like it. It was used to berate and degrade us as a people, to make us feel less than. I don't understand how the word could ever be used as a term of endearment, and for me, it's not and never will be. He goes, I don't call people by that name, and I don't answer to it. And I appreciate that input.
Thank you. And Sean from North Carolina has said that he agrees. I think this was saying that I'm not sure. And Sean, you can chime in again. He said, I agree. Some African Americans have taken the N-word and flipped some vowels, and somehow it's okay, but it's not. Some think it's cool. It's just an expression, but no, it's not. Real talk. You can't be my friend using the N-word around me. Amen with that, okay? I'm not going to say you can't be my friend. I can't say that because I have one friend who I love dearly who spews out the N-word like people spew out saliva when they talk sometimes. Okay. And you know, I know that he's I'm ducking the N-word from him when he talks. He's probably looking at this, slapping his hands, going, I know who you're talking about. But I just know that I hear you, Sean, and I would love people not to say it because I don't like it. But I have a question also that I want to ask you guys about the N-word. So if the N-word is so bad and you're a parent, for example, how do you not, and I guess, Jacques, how do you not accept this word in your life because you know you're going to say it and your child is going to hear it because they pick up everything? So how do you manage that? How is that managed when you have a child and you're saying, I don't like the N-word, but every now and then you'll say N-word GGA, please. Or you know what I'm saying? This is really good for me right now. This is therapy to be careful.
And so I think, so Alvin, I think it's the same way that parents say, hey, don't use profanity, but we know that children do. Because children go by not what you say, but they see what you do. And so I'm appreciating all the comments that we're getting. I know that there are a lot more people out there who actually use this term and perhaps, I mean, because it's so ubiquitous. And so I think it's interesting that on our show that the participants are giving one perspective. I would certainly like to hear those other perspectives that are out there because we know through our lived experience they are. But Alvin, to answer your question, I think it goes back to, pure and simple. It is all about not what we say as parents, but what we do. And so when we want to project model behavior for children, it really is incumbent upon us that we must walk the walk and talk the talk. Because again, when we out of emotion, whatever you want to call it, my mother, who happens to be a pastor now, before she got saved back in the 70s, was a different Jackie than she is now. And so that N-word freely flowed along with a lot of other words in my house. But again, in the 70s and 80s, the whole mindset was, this is our family business and what stays, what happens here stays here. We don't take it out to the streets necessarily, but we all know through our lived, at least it was very ubiquitous when I grew up. Absolutely.
Well, Alma, did you see Alma's comment? She's a parent. And so Alma said, we never said it. We never allowed our son to say it. He was called the N-word in the 3rd grade and didn't know what it was. Wow. So would you call that? And then she says, when the principal called and asked us to come to the school the next day, my husband declined and suggested they invite the parents of the boy who said it.
That's what you do.
That's what you do. That's what you do. Okay. Oh, Alma, that was parenting. That was parenting 101, Alma. You put it out there, okay? You put it out there.
That was exceptional parenting. That's not 101. That was like 300. I'm at the 101 level. So and again, I'm just being completely transparent.
I also want to add that Alma also pointed out during our conversation about Luther Hall, she did say that the Washington Post covered the Luther Hall story, which means that it did go outside of the St. Louis, Missouri area and to some well-read people who read the Washington Post. But I would like to still, so I don't know if Alma's connected to the Washington Post or whatnot, but thank you for letting us know that they covered it.
Okay, because we were unsure. Hold on. Okay, Alma, you got some folks on here who's giving you like 3 snaps up for that comment. Okay, so you might want to send that to us again so we can post it somehow, some way to let us share your story about your son and your husband telling the school to send the parents of the child who said it. Alma, we might have to find a way to post that on He Said. Okay.
Can we point out, because Alma is a great fan of ours. Alma also has a show on Black Press USA and NPA called Ask Alma. It's on Tuesday nights. You should definitely make sure that you like the Black Press USA and NPA Facebook page so you can get linked into Alma and to her show, because our own Alvin King is often a guest on it. So
I'm on that Tuesday. I'll see you Tuesday night, Alma, at 7:00. Okay, look, man, you know what? I know I'm running out of time, but and maybe I should, if I'm thinking about it, I may not even say it, but I just want y'all to know at some point, if we get a chance to talk about it, I just want to ask you all's opinion on Lil Nas X, and we're gonna find that's the guy who just released a video of him, having a relations with the devil. But we're gonna come back to that because it is time for us to go to our next segment where we honor and pay tribute to those that we appreciate, and we call that Black excellence. And this week, our area of Black excellence is education. So
yes,
here we go, Black excellence.
So I am going to start because I have chosen Mary Jane Patterson. Now, I know that last month we did women, but every time I did a search on Black excellence, her picture popped up, and I didn't learn until this afternoon why. So Mary Jane Patterson is credited with being the first Black woman to have gotten a bachelor's degree from an actually sort of accredited or established school. She was born into slavery, born actually in North Carolina around 1840. Family moved to Oberlin, Ohio, where she actually went to Oberlin College, where she graduated and got her degree. After getting her degree, she moved to Philadelphia, where she was employed at the Philadelphia's Institute for Colored Youth, which ultimately became Cheney University, which is important. I'll get back to that. She then later moved to DC, where she taught at the Washington Preparatory High School for Colored Youth, which then became Dunbar High School. And then she continued on being an education expert as well as educating people because she wanted to radically alter the direction of Black people through education. Now, the reason why she's so important and why I realize she's so important is because when she taught at Cheney, my aunt Debbie, Deborah Jolly, went to Cheney and went on to become an educator. And my Aunt Deborah became the very first Black African-American principal at the elementary school that I went to, Henry H. Houston, which was established in 1933. She became the first Black principal. So I want to pay homage to Mary Jane Patterson because it was through her that my Aunt Debbie became the fabulous educator that she was. And my Aunt Debbie told me something that has lived with me forever. When I was very young, I remember her telling me, boredom is a sign of low intellect. Hearing that, I was never bored. I always found something to do, which is probably why my brain runs the way that it does, always tinkering and making the world better. So I want to thank Mary Jane Patterson for inspiring my Aunt Deborah Jolly, for inspiring me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I think I am up next, and you all, for those of you all who know me, know that I love ancestry, and I am a huge fan of learning who I am and where I come from. And I'm gonna actually you guys are gonna watch my eyes. I'm gonna be transparent with you because I want to make sure that I don't screw this up. I need to talk about this gentleman by the name of Rick Antonius Kittles. I have, you've heard of Ancestry.com and all these other places. When I started to, started researching where I came from, let me give you a little background. I'm the fifth son of 6 kids to my mom, and my dad left very early. I think I was 10 or 11 when my dad left. So I grew up in a single family home. And so I didn't get a chance to actually see my dad or be around him until I was 40. So from age 11 to 40, a whole bunch of things happened. Okay. And when I became of age, I wanted to know, my last name is King. And I thought, there has to be something in the records that's saying, okay, this word King just stuck out with me. So I started doing a lot of homework and doing a lot of research. And that's where I found Rick Antonius Kittles. Let me tell you a little bit about him, and bear with me as I look at my teleprompter over here because I need to make sure that I get it right. Rick was born in 1976 in Sylvania, Georgia, in an area that his family had inhabited for several generations. But he grew up in Central Islip, New York, that's near Long Island, right outside of New York City. When he was young, he wanted to become a rap musician, but he was curious from the start about human origins and differences. Geneticist Dr. Kittles, a professor now at Ohio State University, became one of the hottest young scientific researchers in the country in the early 2000s. Now, at 45 years old, this brother is nationally recognized and an investigator whose specialties encompasses such vital topics as prostate cancer in African American men and the role of genetics in disease. But it's outside of his academic world. Dr. Kittles made headlines. His company, African Ancestry Inc., of which I'm very familiar, used his expertise in genetic testing to put African Americans, from celebrities to ordinary genealogy buffs like me, in touch with their roots in a way that Americans of European descent took for granted, but that a displaced and enslaved people had mostly only dreamed of. Dr. Kittles offered his customers a glimpse into their specific African ancestries and pinpointing an actual African ethnic group to which one or two of the customers' ancestors had belonged. The path that led to the founding of African Ancestry. It was complicated, at first, and it didn't go without some controversy. But Dr. Kittles found that his research often fed into the deep interest of African American genealogy that had been awakened by the publication of Alec Haley's book, Roots, in the 1970s. Ladies and gentlemen, my educator for this week is Dr. Rick Antonius Kittles. Thank you. Dr. Kittles?
And he's cute.
Dr. Kittles?
And he's very cute.
I know now where my mom and daddy came from. Okay, thank you. Okay.
So we'll continue.
Is he still alive, Alvin?
So we'll continue with that theme of ancestry. Alvin, is he still alive?
He is still, at 45 years old. Yes, he is.
Okay, awesome. So now continuing with that theme of ancestry, let's talk about my educator that I'd like to recognize. It's none other than my beautiful mother, Jacqueline Vandalia Smith Whitfield Thompson. And that's a picture of my mother when she was a graduate of Grayscale Marco, Open Divorce School of Charm and Grayscale Marco Modeling Agency. My mom was born in 1943 in New York City. My mom was raised to be a Black princess, really. My mom has actually made her, came out at the Waldorf Astoria, her bal de salut, and I still remember as a kid, those things like 101 Reasons I Knew I Was Gay. So I saw this big picture of my mom. It was a black and white picture, and she was in, a beautiful ball gown and was at the Waldorf Astoria, and it was like Wakanda in the 1940s in New York City, because there were all these distinguished, beautiful Black people, dancing all across the ballroom, and there was my mother, and being introduced to New York society. So my mother always had a passion for education and always had a passion for uplifting mankind. I remember when my mom learned Spanish because she wanted to be a teacher in Spanish Harlem. My mom went on to be a distinguished educator at the North Carolina Public Schools. And actually, that picture there is my sister and myself with my mom. And we all went into education. We were positively influenced by my mother. My mother won Teacher of the Year several times. My mother was actually a master mentor math teacher in the Robinson County public school systems, and that was back during the No Child Left Behind, when we were focusing on improving scores in mathematics and in English language arts. My mom is a math teacher and taught me to love and appreciate math, as well as my sister. And I am so honored to give back to her all the amazing gifts and talents and abilities that she gave to me. And currently in North Carolina, I am caretaking for my mother. I am believing for her total healing and recovery. And so I could think of nothing other than to honor her as and give her a huge shout out to my mom, distinguished educator, Jacqueline Vandalia Whitfield Thompson. Shout out to you, Mommy. We love you.
Cheers, darling.
Cheers. And I want to, and before we close this segment, I think that this is one segment of the show that's really important for me personally, because it, as we ponder, weekly about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it and how we're going to approach it, it allows me to go back and do homework on people, places, and things that I had no idea existed. Yes, I did know of, Dr. Kittles, but I learned so many other things that in upcoming shows, it's invigorating me and exciting me, to do that. And Jacques, once again, a beautiful tribute to a family member. So beautiful. Your mom, your family, everybody who knows you should be really proud. Thank you, Vash, for that. Also that beautiful tribute, but that was really good. I love that segment of the show. Wow. Well, guys, we got 5 minutes, so we got to tell some folks about some stuff before we get out of here. Can you believe this hour goes by like that?
I can't believe it. It goes by so quickly.
And it went even faster because I had Jack Daniels here. Because me and Jack, I'm not as hungry as I was, because usually when we get off, I just want to fly upstairs and eat. But Jack Daniels is really helping me.
Is Jack your N-word?
Oh, no.
I'm going to answer for him. Yes.
No. His name.
So you had Jack, I had Robert Mondavi, and and Robert Mondavi is my N-word.
His name is Jack, and that's that. Okay.
That's
okay.
hilarious.
I'm sorry. You were going to say something, babe.
As we go to close out, I just want to remind everybody that we have a Facebook page, which is He Said Live. And I want to thank everybody who has sent us messages, who has liked and commented on our material and our posts, and who have encouraged other people to like our page, because I've noticed that people have friends who have liked the page because they have liked the page. So we still have a goal of getting to a certain number of likes. So please, if you can, go and like our Facebook page, share it with a friend. We post really interesting things. And if you're on Instagram, please do the same, because we want to share our message and our gift of gab with you.
And for those of you who signed on, after we started, we opened the show with sending out our thoughts and prayers to the fallen U.S. Capitol Police officer, Mr. Billy Evans today, who died. For those of you who have not heard, I work in that area. I pass by that area, and I don't, it's just so, it's very sad to know that happened today to Officer Evans. And we also want to give a special shout out, you all didn't hear this early on, to the Major League Baseball team, who said we are pulling the World, is it the World Series? Is that what they're called? Is it the World Series, or what game are they pulling out of Atlanta because of that voter suppression law that they've implemented? But the Major League Baseball team is pulling their games out of Atlanta. And that's the way to go. Pull your money out of places that deal with racism and inequality. Pull your money out. So, thank you, Major League Baseball. Thank you. So
it matters to stand to people. It matters to stand with people.
That's it. And there are some other companies that I have a feeling are going to follow suit, because thank you, Bobby. It is the All-Star game. It is thank you, Bobby. It is the Major League Baseball All-Star game. They're pulling that out of Atlanta. Yay, 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 yay. I can't say that enough. If I had pom-poms, I swear I would be swinging them in the air right now. I really would. But no, that might be too much. But our topic for next week, ladies and gentlemen, is manage your health. Manage your health. We're going to talk about health. Care, taking care of the temple. And so we hope that you will join us next week for that. And as always, we're going to leave you with our last words of the week, our words of the week. Forget what hurt you, but never forget what it taught you. And that was by author Shannon L. Adler. I think it's Adler. That I love reading her quotes. And that was a quote that we thought was that was significant for today, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thank you for joining us on He Said.
He said.
He said.
For another week, ladies and gentlemen. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Thank you and have a good week.
Take care.
We're about to sign out. Have a
Bye,
good night.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Good night.
Bye, Ray.
And
Bye,
happy
guys.
Easter.